on earth did you agree to that?" We'd been married less than 12 hours, and already I was sounding shrewish. I didn't mean to, but my dreams were being shattered before my honeymoon had truly begun. Adam shrugged. "Livy, remember, Sir John has been very good to us. When he asked me to drive him around to check his territory for our first mass blackout practice, I couldn't very well say no." He grinned at me, that warm, funny smile I loved. "He said it's for king and country." My cousin, Lady Abby, and her husband, Sir John Somersby, had been kind. They had hosted our wedding, the wedding breakfast, and now our honeymoon. Even with my dreams coming true, I still wanted a wedding night that was a little more traditional. The wedding had been magnificent. That morning, my friends in London, as well as my colleagues from the Daily Premier newspaper, and my now husband's fellow army officers, had travelled to the local village. St. Athanasius was within a short walking distance of the train station, and those who had driven had plenty of room around the green to park. Friends and family attended our wedding in the medieval stone church, with its stained glass windows and 8 bells in the tower, to ring out when we left as husband and wife. As my father walked me down the aisle, he said my pale blue gown was a bad choice, because it made my face look ruddy, and asked what idiot had fixed my hair. Nothing else. Just another day in our relationship. I considered all the faces turned toward us, and decided now was not a good moment to tell my father what I thought of his opinions. I reached the altar red-faced with anger. No one can do anything with my auburn curls, but I thought my choice of wedding gown was inspired. Adam took one look at me seething with indignation, took my hand, and turned us both toward the vicar. Sir John and Abby put on a magnificent wedding breakfast for our guests before we saw everyone off to return to London. My father, unfortunately, stayed on at Somersby House. It was glorious. The sun had shone, and no one present commented on the fact this wasn't really my home parish. It was Sir John and Lady Abby Somersby's, and I was just a frequent visitor. We'd chosen this date for our wedding, since it was the first weekend available when we'd tried to book St. Athanasius. At that time, the government had not yet announced the date for the first air raid practice drill over the southern third of England. I wished now that we'd changed the date when we heard. I wanted a wedding night spent with my husband, not one deferred while my husband and Sir John checked if the neighbours' blackout curtains were in place. We all knew it would be vitally important, but not tonight of all nights. I strained my shoulders and said, "If you insist on driving for Sir John down dark country lanes, I'm coming too. You'll be bored, and there will be no cuddling in the back seat of Sir John's auto." He sat next to me on the bed and kissed my neck. "You'll have to wait until I return for that, Mrs. Redmond." I smiled. "It won't be 10:30 p.m. for an hour, Captain Redmond." It had taken him the better part of a year to convince me to agree to wed. The final nudge to marry my soldier came from Hitler's sabre rattling. Less than an hour later, I was trying to pull a brush through my tangled auburn curls, while Adam was sticking his head and arms into a dark sweater. The blare of a car horn, I assumed Sir John's, urged us to hurry, which caused my hands to fumble on buttons and laces. 5 minutes later, we clattered down the grand main staircase to the front hall of Somersby House, Sir John and Lady Abby's sizable Georgian home. The front door was open, and I could see our host standing with my father on the front porch facing the drive. There was a man standing by the driver's door of a sleek convertible parked in front, announcing, "I'll have it annulled. That's what I'll do, Sir John." "Too late," Adam whispered, leading me to cough and Abby to press her lips together to hide her smile. My father glared at us. "She's not of age, and even if she were, the family would never approve.